Singapore has some of the priciest houses in Asia, making it tough to find good deals. But if you look closely and patiently, sometimes you will be able to spot a hidden gem. The good news is that even now, there are ways to find properties that are priced lower than they're actually worth. It takes a little effort, but by following these tips, you'll be on your way to finding a great deal. So, what exactly is an undervalued property? It's basically a house or an apartment that's being sold for less than its market value, which is the typical price for similar places in the area. There are a few reasons why this might happen. Sometimes people need to sell their house quickly and willing to lower the price, or sometimes developers might have units they are trying to get rid of by a certain date and willing to offer discounts. If you can find one of these undervalued properties, you could save a big chunk of money. It's like getting a high quality item at a super low price. Experts say that a property is considered undervalued if it's priced 5% to 15% lower than its market value. Imagine finding a $2 million apartment that's actually worth $2.5 million. That's a saving up to $500,000. Okay, so how do we actually find these undervalued properties? My first tip is compare the statistics of the area. The first step is you pick an area, then check the prices of similar houses or apartments in that area. Look at what others have recently sold for and how prices have been changing lately. Skip the super central areas and focus on places that are still good but not right in the downtown center. Look for areas with MRT stations or good schools nearby. These can be good bets for finding undervalued properties. This means places with a lot of different houses and apartments all built at different times within 1 kilometer or so of each other. Areas with a lot of new buildings being built sometimes have property price dips, so that could be a good place to start looking. Check their PSF, check their status, whether leasehold or freehold, and for leasehold, check when their lease started and compare these flats. Next, let's look at the price difference between brand new condos and condos that are being resold by their owners. Find a resale condo close to a new launch and compare the prices. Think about how much space you can get in the resale condo. If the price difference is big enough, it might be worth a closer look. In general, if the resale condo is 20% cheaper than the new one in the same area, that's a good sign. This way, you could get a condo in a great area without paying the brand new price tag. The third tip would be look for a diamond in the rough. Some people try to find undervalued properties by looking for houses that aren't in the best condition but are located in a desirable area. This can work well if you are planning to rent out the property. Many renters wouldn't mind living in an older house but in a great location as long as the rent is good. But be careful with this approach. Just because a house is older and in a good area, that doesn't mean it's a good deal. Avoid houses in areas with high crime rates or near red light districts. These can be difficult to sell later on. Remember, an older property might also need a lot of renovations, which can be expensive. You might need to take out a renovation loan on top of your mortgage, so factor that into the cost. The fourth tip would be look for sellers in a hurry. Sometimes, homeowners need to sell their place quickly. Maybe they're moving overseas for a job, or they already bought a new place and want a fast sale. Or maybe they are going through a divorce. These sellers might be willing to take a lower price to get things moving quickly. Financial trouble can also make sellers motivated. They might need cash fast and be open to offers lower than the asking price. You might be surprised at the good deals you can find this way. Just be sure to understand why the seller is offering a discount before you buy. Tip number 5 would be look for sellers upgrading to a family home. Young investors sometimes buy small condos as investments, but later on, when they get married and want a bigger place for their family, they have a tough decision. For Singaporean couples, they need to pay 20% ABSD if they would like to purchase a second residential property, so most people would prefer just to sell their first condo. If they choose to sell, they might be more open to negotiate on the price to get a fast sale and avoid the ABSD. Also, some sellers might already have bought their new family home but haven't sold their condo yet. They'll need to sell soon within 6 months to avoid another tax. These sellers are also likely to be open to negotiation because they are on a deadline. Tip number 6 would be patient and consider expired listings. If a property has been listed for sale on the market for a long time, let's say more than 3 months, the sellers might be more open to negotiating the price. They're probably getting anxious to sell. You can also check rental listings. If a condo or an apartment apartment has been vacant for a while, the landlord might be willing to sell instead. Even if they say no at first, try checking back in a few months. If it's still empty, they might be more motivated to sell by then, and that means you might be able to negotiate a good price. Tip number 7 would be find developers that are chasing deadlines. In Singapore, the developers have to pay ABSD when they buy land. It's a big chunk of money, and they can get ABSD remission by selling all the condos they built within 5 years. If the deadline is approaching and they haven't sold everything, they might slash prices to get rid of the condos and avoid the tax. This can be a great time to find a good deal on a new condo. For example, there was a project called Cascaden Reserve around the Orchard area where the developer offered big discounts because they were close to their ABSD deadline. Keep an eye for these fire sales, especially towards the end of a condo development's sales phase. If you see a good deal, move fast before it's gone. Tip number 8 would be to check out property auctions. Property auctions can be a good place to find undervalued properties. Sellers might use auctions to sell their condo or commercial space quickly. Well, there's no guarantee you can find a super cheap place, but it's worth checking out auctions in your area. Banks also sell properties they've taken back from people who couldn't repay their loans at auctions. These can sometimes be priced lower, but be careful. The bank might set a price that includes the loan amount, interest, fees, and penalties. This could actually drive the price up over the property's value. Just because a property is cheap doesn't mean it's a good deal. Here are some things to consider before you buy. Number 1. Why is the seller offering a discount? Is there something wrong with the property or the neighborhood? Number 2. Think about future costs like renovation fees and how easily you could rent it out. Number 3. Check the surrounding area for noise, traffic, and peacefulness. And number 4, look for any structural problems in the property itself, such as leaks, unusually large cracks, termite problems, etc. And the last point is, consider upcoming development that might affect the price, such as new government plans or new launches in the area. By considering all these factors, you can figure out why the property is priced low and decide whether it's a good deal for you. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye!